to the Primal Pioneer Kitchen. I'm Jennifer.
And I'm Mike.
And this is where I take what he harvests in the field and bring it to the table to make some delicious wild game recipes. Tonight on the menu we have
Hawaiian Venison Sliders.
We love slider recipes in our household because we love appetizers, we love any kind of grab and go kind of food. These sliders are great for an easy weeknight meal. They're great for a game day appetizers. They're great for a summer barbecue. Anything where you just want to make like a quick grab and go meal, these sliders are what you want to make. So for these Hawaiian venison sliders, you're going to have your ground venison, and we're going to cook the ground venison with some olive oil because you want to have fat in your skillet when you're cooking a lean wild game meat. And then we're going to also use some salt and pepper while we're cooking the venison. So to talk about the venison, if you don't have venison in your freezer, elk meat will work great. Any other red wild game meat will work great. And also if you can use beef if that's all you have, or if you do not have wild game meat but you would like to source some, when we run out and our freezer is empty, we like to order additional wild game meat from the Honest Bison. So that is an option if you want to have some venison and elk on hand, but you weren't able to harvest some during hunting season, or if your freezer is just full or empty. So in addition to the ground venison, we're going to use Hawaiian barbecue sauce. If you are not able to find a Hawaiian barbecue sauce, you can also just use like a sweet and spicy barbecue sauce or a sweet barbecue sauce. We're gonna use pickled jalapenos. So if you cannot find those, you should be able to find maybe like a hot and sweet jalapeno or a pickled jalapeno. Fresh pineapple chunks. Fresh is better than canned in this recipe. If canned pineapple chunks is all that you're able to source, those work well too. You'll want to drain them, but we'll talk about the pineapple a little later here in the cooking video. But some fresh pineapple, obviously some slider buns, some pepper jack cheese, some melted butter, and this is all gonna make our Hawaiian venison sliders. And so,
let's get cooking.
So now that we have our skillet preheated over medium-high heat, we're gonna add about 1 tablespoon of olive oil, and then we're going to add in our ground venison, and we're gonna get that nice and broken up. And then we want to add just a little bit of salt, add a little bit of cracked black pepper, and we're going to get this nice and browned. And Mike's going to take over cooking, watching the ground venison cook while I go and get the jalapenos and the pineapple chopped up and ready to go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to chop up our pickled jalapenos and our fresh pineapple. We're going to use, we want about a half a cup, anywhere from about a half a cup to a cup of chopped jalapenos and chopped pineapple. So let's get those ready. So then once the ground venison is cooked, we can go right into starting to prepare our sliders. You just want to kind of finely chop the pineapple chunks. And like I said, you could use crushed pineapple in a can or chopped pineapple, but if you use that, you want to make sure you drain all of the juice off of it, because that's going to add too much moisture to your sliders. That's why we like to use fresh pineapple. Plus fresh pineapple is just a little bit better, but use whatever you can source. Just know that you want to make sure that you don't have a lot of liquid.
No juice.
We don't necessarily. So we have about a half a cup of chopped pineapple right here. So we're gonna set that aside on our cutting board, and we're gonna go right into getting our, so these pickled jalapenos are already sliced, but we're gonna go ahead and just chop them a little bit finer for our sliders. You might wanna wear gloves for this. I'm gonna be bold and not wear gloves. But just remember, after you handle jalapenos, if you don't have gloves, to make sure you rinse and wash your hands thoroughly and don't touch your eyes. Okay, so now we have about a half a cup of our chopped jalapenos. And again, with the jalapenos, it really kind of depends on how much heat you want. If you love jalapenos, you can add more. You can go 3/4 cup, you can go to a full cup. But we're gonna start with this, which is about a half a cup of chopped jalapenos. So let's check on our ground venison meat. How is the venison going, Mike?
Almost ready.
All right, so one thing I want to mention is that depending on how you process your venison, so when we process our venison, we do add a little bit of a fat to our venison so it's not quite so lean. So you can tell in a skillet, see how we actually have some grease in our skillet from this venison. So we're gonna wanna drain that off before we add in our barbecue sauce. So now we've got the grease off of our skillet. We drained the grease off. So now we're gonna add in our Hawaiian barbecue sauce. We wanna mix together our barbecue sauce with our ground venison, get it nice and mixed up so it's fully sauced. And once it's all covered in the sauce, we're gonna remove from heat and we'll go start preparing our sliders. All right, so now it's time to put our sliders together before we throw them in the oven. So you're gonna you have 12 slider buns. You're going to want to put 12, just the bottoms into the pan, a 9x13 dish. 9x13 should fit 12 slider buns, Hawaiian buns, however you know, whichever, sweet Hawaiian rolls, whichever you can source. So now we have our 12 bottoms into the dish. So next what we want to do is we're going to add our venison. Just add a little bit of venison, just enough to kind of cover the bottom of the bun. I'd say that's about maybe a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons of the venison onto the slider buns. So now that we have our ground venison on the bottom of our slider buns, we're going to top them with each of them with the chopped pineapple, the chopped jalapeno, the pepper jack cheese, and then we're gonna put the slider buns on top. So let's just kind of like spread it out. Doesn't have to be exact. You just wanna get a little bit on each of the sliders. Next up, we're gonna add the chopped jalapenos. So again, just put a little bit on each slider. And like I mentioned before, if you want a lot more heat, add a lot more jalapenos. It's really just kind of up to your heat tolerance. If you don't want any heat at all, you could remove the pineapples, or you could remove the jalapenos. However, I wouldn't recommend it because I really do kind of make the recipe. They're a really good addition that, especially using the pickled jalapenos, just pairs really well with the flavors of this dish. All right, so now we have our jalapenos on. And lastly, we're gonna add our pepper jack cheese. So let's just give them a hefty dose, hefty sprinkle. We're using about 1 cup of shredded pepper jack cheese. And we're gonna evenly distribute these across our slider buns, our venison sliders. You want them nice and cheesy. This is my favorite part of the dish. What's your favorite part of the dish?
The meat.
Of course.
Maybe the...
All right.
Probably the pineapple.
Probably the pineapple. Okay. So now we're going to just top all of our sliders with the tops of the buns.
Look, I do hope.
And then now that they're fully assembled, we are going to take our melted butter. We're gonna brush the tops of our slider buns with the melted butter because we want them to get nice and toasty when they're baking. So we used about a half a stick, which is about 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter for this. And you wanna get them, I like my buns toasty. So we're going to add lots of butter. So the final step is now we're going to cover them with aluminum foil and we're going to bake them in the oven. The oven's already been preheating at 350 degrees and we're going to bake them for 20 minutes. So we're going to cover our dish. We don't want the buns to burn. And then we're gonna put them in the oven and bake them for 20 minutes. Okay, our timer just went off, so Mike's gonna grab the sliders out of the oven. And let's take a look and see how they turned out. Okay, so let's dive in. Let's pull out some of our sliders and let's see how they turned out.
I'm so excited.
How excited? On a scale of 1 to 10.
10. Mouthful of water.
Okay, I think they're cooled down now, so you want to give it a try?
Yep. I got a jalapeno. Good.
Delicious. I do like the pickled jalapenos with the barbecue sauce and the pepper jack cheese. Has just the right amount of spice to it. Good stuff. All right.
The pineapple's good.
Okay, so how'd you like them?
It's good.
It's really good. I mean, not just saying that because it's our recipe, but if you want to mix up your nighttime regime with something new, you want to try these. So to find the full printable recipe, we've included the link below in the video description, or you can just go to primalpioneer.com. Hawaiian Venison Sliders will be on the blog. You can find the recipe, print it, save it, pin it, whatever you want to do. And then come back next week, because next week we're going to be making
Venison quesadillas?
Yes, we're going to be making venison quesadillas next week, so come back.